Ooh, dollar bill. I love what you're doing to me. Oh, goodness. Ooh.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back together in another hectic episode of Open Up and Tell It All. This is Boss Dollar Bill, your host, and yeah, man, I got some very interesting guests up in this video, and I'm very sure that out of this episode you're gonna take out a lot. Alright, let me just kill the intro and we can introduce our guest. Yes, that's what's about to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, like I said, another hectic episode. Thank you so very much to each and everybody who supports and loves this content of Dollar Bill of Zollyhood, which we call this podcast Open Up and Tell It All. Yeah, but today, without further ado, it gives me great pleasure, and I'm very privileged and very honored to actually host an interview with, I don't know how do I begin to introduce our guest today, but ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Wellington Pike. How do you say last name, sir? Pike or Pike?
Depends on what you like to pronounce. Pike, and I don't mind.
Otherwise, I'm Pike.
Otherwise, you Pike. It's P-H-I-K-E, but many of my family members spell their surname as P-H-I-K-E. So I decided to remove the P, the I, the H on my surname.
Yeah, man, that's super cool, man. Because I always ask myself, how do you say? But it sounds, Pike sounds even better. Pike sounds even better if you ask me.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes.
I know.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Wellington Pike. Is that how you say your name, Wellington Pike? Pike?
Dollar Bill for having me. Actually, my name is Wellington.
Wellington.
I know it today. And
Yes.
the name is P-I-K-E.
Uh-huh.
If you're free to call it Pike, it's up to you.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yes.
you very much.
Yes. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, for those who doesn't know this gentleman, man, you better look him up. I tell you one thing, he's a well-read man, well-researched, and have been exposed to a whole lot of literature from all spheres. And I know this because he provides content, but we're still going to come to that. He provides literature and books for people who love information like myself. I'm also part of his program and part of his platform. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you Mr. Wellington Pike, and yeah, he's going to tell us a lot, and we're going to talk a lot. Yeah, but I guess let's start here. I think this is where the most interesting point to actually start. I was actually thinking to myself, how are we going to actually commence this conversation? But brother, tell me, man, what's with when did the love for books commence?
The love of books commenced at school.
Mm.
I actually studied or schooled at Ifata School in Umtata. That is where my love for books started sparking.
Mm.
I loved reading so much that I would just pick up a paper. As long as that paper is written in Braille, I would like to know what is in that paper.
Wow.
The other thing that I used to do when there was silent reading in the class,
Right.
the word that I wouldn't understand, the word that I wouldn't be understanding, I would say it louder so that the teacher can hear it. Ask me what that name, what that word means.
Yeah.
What that word means, and then you tell me. Then that's how I gained information.
Mm.
I read a lot of books in nearly all the South African languages.
Wow.
And like you said, that sparked a lot of other interest in me, like opening the group which deals with reading.
Yes, sir.
And also I'm in the book share a partnership with Blind SA. In other words, we as Blind SA have partnered with Bookshare.
Yes.
To blind to be able.
Yeah, there's a little bit of distortion there. If you can just repeat that for us, because there's a little bit of distortion, and I believe it's the network, which chops a little bit some of the things you're saying. So if you can just repeat that. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
What should I say?
No, you were still telling us about the partnership with Blind SA and Bookshare.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Are you still with me, sir? Mr. Wilton? Mr. Wilton?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You're back. I think we lost you for a few seconds
there.
Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Hello, can you hear me? All right. Let's quickly take a quick air break, and then we'll quickly come back to this.
Station that plays you nothing but the best music.
On Zollywood Radio.
The radio station that plays you nothing but the best music.
Zollywood Radio.
The best music on the best station.
On Zollywood Radio.
The best music on the best station.
Zollywood Radio, where the magic happens.
You're listening to one of the best internet radio stations around.
On Zollywood Radio, where the magic happens.
You're listening to one of the best internet radio stations around. You're listening to
Zollywood Radio, where the magic happens.
The whole grand and grand radio.
Dance for me, oh, fire for you. Just let me adore you. I'm blinded by the lights. Rain on me. I'm in the corner with the body. Don't show up, don't come out, don't start caring about me now.
This is Zollywood Radio, where the magic happens.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This is R-Kelly.
Yo, what it does? This your homie Rick Ross.
Hey, this is Rihanna.
AIA, this is the Dollar Bill. Yo, tuning in to Zollywood Radio, where the magic happens.
All right, now, gentlemen, we are back. We kind of like lost.
It was not accessible to people who didn't have money until they partnered with some libraries, and Blind SA was one of the people that they partnered with. So that makes it easier for people not to be required to put any POD. That stands for proof of disability. So with Bookshare, if you register with me, you won't get to be asked those questions where you have to bring some doctor's letter and so forth and so forth. Yes. You don't pay a cent. It's free.
Now that's amazing, man. The level of content and literature that you provide in book and novels, articles, and everything, and documented stories. It's just incredible. But so when did this partnership commence?
This partnership it's been there for about 2 years now. 2 to 3 years, but put it that way. It's quite many people didn't know about it until I was also introduced to it, so that I can tell as many people as possible about it.
Yeah, and And thank you so very much for actually doing that. We see how many people benefit from that and how many people learn, including myself. I'll keep on mentioning this, how much I benefit from the very platforms. There's many books which I always ask myself, how on earth will I be able to get and stuff that I know, but I need to go and do a rebrowse on it. And through the platform that has been established and all of that. And that has been so incredible. So what have you been... Go ahead.
I'd like to mention something here, my brother, that people should really be part of this so that they can also come across your books that are on Bookshare as well.
Yes.
That is quite interesting that you've written some books and they have also been uploaded
yes, sir.
to the library. So for that sake, people should really do the best they can. Okay, what any other question, or should I go on?
No. It's actually it's very interesting you mentioning about my content as well. I'm actually even working on 3 books, but we will talk about that. I'm going to come to you and we're going to talk about the 3 books which I'm currently busy with, and the rest of the other stuff that I am working on. But I want us to talk about, when I look at this this very situation about the network and all of that, and I'm looking at the cause of some of these glitches and distortion of network, which has to do with the conditions of the country.
Yes.
So can you speak to us about that? I mean, what can you say about the condition of the country at this point?
The condition we couldn't be facing such problems if they were up to, they knew what they were doing.
Yes.
And the other thing has to do with corruption. That's why they cannot maintain even the power issue, the energy issue.
Yes.
Because of the corruption of people squandering money.
Yes, sir.
Not putting it where it should be. So the condition of the country is quite bad. It's quite bad.
Is there hope for South Africa, according to you?
Say that again.
Is there hope for the country and for the people in the country?
I think we haven't yet tried all the means. I know that the coalition in cities and so forth from the local government.
Yes, sir.
But I wonder what if we try it now nationally and have all the parties involved.
Or something like correlation governance.
That's right. That's what I mean.
Quite interesting you say that, because I was speaking to somebody who's also in the political space, speaking about that very thing. They're actually, sharing the same sentiments that something like that should actually be attempted, because then accountability will be at least a little bit more. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. People will be more accountable.
Yes.
People will be more accountable. They won't just spend or just waste money. Willy-nilly, like buying expensive cars, expensive houses with the taxpayers' money.
And that's very, very sad. But in the South Africa that we're seeing today, are you actually seeing the all these different parties and people in the political spaces coming together for a joint common purpose of building South Africa?
That is why I said from the beginning, we saw coalitions not working very well locally in the local space.
Yeah.
So there's something that was tried, if you remember, or maybe you might have heard of. In 1994, there was something called GNU, Government of National Unity. All the parties were part of the government.
Wow.
I think that worked better. If something of that sort can be maybe tried. Yeah.
Then, with that said, so you believe then we might have a little bit of chance to rebuild South Africa, because from where we are, I mean, this load shedding going as far as the stage 6, and there was other predictions that we're going.
I'm worried. What could make it impossible is that it seems like now we're working for the world. We're working for the overseas governments. Remember, we don't have gold of our own. It has to be bought from other countries, whereas it comes from us. So to me, maybe that also wouldn't work because those people that are bosses who are controlling these countries, these African countries, wouldn't allow that.
Maybe then
they want to see us poor.
Yeah, which leads to my next question, which I'd like to ask you. Would you actually say we are totally free? Have we really experienced the emancipation in South Africa and liberation?
Not at all. We are not. We are not.
Why do you say that?
This dates back to the Codesa. We don't know what the agreements were there. It seems like we negotiated ourselves into an economic loss.
My goodness.
In other words, the whites made sure that economy doesn't come to us, and they would even die for that. Why do you think Chris Hani was killed?
My goodness.
He was just against everything that was agreed upon there.
You know, I'm listening to the amount of depth of quality of information that is coming out of you, and I do believe that the amount of content that you consume through books is the one that is being displayed right now. Looking at the country and giving it such an assessment, which is very, very thorough and deep. So what do you say? Do you think we will ever see a revolution, perhaps again?
Yeah, I'm afraid that is possible, more especially next year.
My goodness.
Because many people are saying they're not going to vote ANC, and that alone says people will be, those who still want to vote ANC, will be barred from doing so. And then that can cause some conflagration of some sort.
So you and then from how you look at things, we might be at the front seat of experiencing an unrest on a national scale.
Exactly. Yeah, if you look at the unrest that are already going on, imagine now if a huge one can really come up.
Because a lot of businesses, I'm thinking there's going to come a time where people are just really going to get fed up. And I was checking out this article some 2 weeks ago. There's a prediction that we are going to go to stage 7 and even stage 8 of load shedding, and a lot of businesses have already suffered because of what's happening and not being really. Go ahead.
And what is interesting, Bill, every time the president speaks about doing something to alleviate the situation, it becomes more. The stages go higher. They escalate. That's why they are talking about stage 8, stage 9, stage 16, and so forth. Which means we are going.
This is going to get.
Africa, that is going to be dark.
No, really, I think we are at a very critical point at this time. If then we don't apply a serious solution to all of this, I do believe that we might witness the fall of South Africa.
I hope the solution could be quicker than waiting for 2024. So to avoid that kind of revolutionary action.
I think you're right. So let me hear from you. So which leader do you think can be able to save the day? Who can be the saving grace of South Africa at this point, according to you, on the political arena?
Yeah, when you've got to think of a leader, you must think in all the parties. Unfortunately, the only party that I was part of and I knew very well was ANC. I was part of the ANC on the BEC in Dobsonville, where I stay. I was in the branch executive committee. So that's the party that I know. If we think of guys like Mashaba, because it seems like people went to Mashaba.
Yeah.
There's something else that I'm noticing, more especially in my township now. People are starting to look at Unhlanhla Lux.
Oh, Lux.
Savior.
You're right.
they're beginning to look at him as a savior, but I'm afraid his tactics are violent.
Yes.
He's claiming not to be violent.
Yes. Yeah, yes.
So, to me, it's not the right.
Yeah, his combat, I've realized it has a very aggressive nature. And we saw with the other movement, which was part of Tutulani and all of that. As a person who stays in Soweto, how is mentioning Lux and the Soweto Parliament, how is that? How does it work? Is it for the country? Because I was also following some of his interviews and looking at what he's getting up to. I know that he's built he's in a project of putting together a golf course, a racetrack for go-karts and stuff like that. How's that? Do you see Lux actually being able to do something, even in his method of implementation? Are we seeing Lux having the ability to actually cause a change? Positive
the problem
change.
is cool-headed people will not follow him. And cool-headed people are the ones who want. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It's like Julius. Julius, there are many people who feel that he's rowdy, he's unruly, and so forth and so forth. Yeah. So I'm not sure really. I'm a bit confused as well. I cannot, I don't have the tarot card to say this is what's going to happen.
Honestly, it caused an uneasy feeling, because even if I had to be asked the same question, who's a leader who can really be the saving grace for South Africa at this point, I'd really be lost, because I'm looking at everybody's tactics and approach on things. You think like,
I was happy with Tabumbi. I don't remember feeling this confused during his time.
Yeah.
I think he was too strict. That's why they removed him. He was anti-corruption, anti-everything. He may have been maybe corrupt on his end that we don't know, but I've never known anything about corruption on him. So I think people made sure that he's out so that they can be corrupt enough under the administration of Mr. Zuma.
Maybe let me ask this question this way. So, do you believe perhaps the cause of this corruption on this national scale, is it because of South Africans being previously disadvantaged? What do you think is the cause and the root cause of corruption?
Definitely.
That's
the answer. And the other thing that I think is causing all of this is the readiness. And I don't believe that when African National Congress came out from the exile, they were ready to rule. I think they were just ready for a takeover.
Interesting thoughts there. Interesting thoughts. So, what do as you said, maybe we need more accountability, joining forces, and we, as much as we hope for that, and these other possibilities, like we spoke about, a very active revolution, which might cause a whole lot of bloodshed, and yes.
Which is why I say, if the solution has been found, it should start. It should be implemented right now, not next year. So as to save ourselves from the uprisings and so forth that can take place next year.
I mean, when Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa came into power, his administration, especially with the CR17 and now the CR22, tell me about that. I mean, he was applauded he was cheered for it, like he knows how to run businesses and all that. So therefore,
everybody thought he was going to be the right person. Since he had good businesses, he won't be corrupt.
Yes.
So everybody didn't know what's going to follow. Look at the Pala, whatever.
The saga in Pala.
That's right.
The abuse of state power and all of that, kidnaps involved, and all of those crazy things that we get to hear about.
And surprise, he has been given another term.
That really shocked me. What's your thought?
I'll go back to what I said to you, that this country is being ruled by other people overseas. They've got an agenda that has not yet been disclosed. So he must finish that agenda. Then that's it.
Do you mean that there are people who dictate? Because we get to hear about that.
Yeah.
Is that really true, or it's some conspiracy that these international power players who really own South Africa, so to say, in the economy and all of that happens here?
Unfortunately, I believe that conspiracy is true. Because look at it during the COVID times, ne?
Yes, sir.
When we are on whatever stage, it would wait for overseas to open up, then we open up.
Wow. And that's very true.
That's what I learned.
And that's very true. And we also witnessed it with many things, like when we waited for them to stop using their mask before we stopped. Like everything had to start internationally.
That's it. We're dictated to. And I'm afraid these things, we are made to submit to them. That is why we have been made to also submit to load shedding. I mean, if that was not the case, he wouldn't call it the new normal.
Wow.
Why do you call it normal?
Yeah. So, do we ever see ourselves then being liberated from these ounce of power from international? Because now we're looking at then what happens after Cyril Ramaphosa is do we go even as far as these power players are the exact individuals or entities that even appoint the people in power in South Africa?
The problem is we need a lot of education. Number one. Number two, we need unity and unite against this government. And see if there can be any government of the people, because this is not a government of the people. Yeah.
This is very, very, very deep, and I believe a lot of people are going to be educated by what we do. So our people needs to be educated, and
exactly.
So it's the books which maybe you think at least gives us an enlightenment into this very space and into this very thinking for us, because if that has to be the case, and which a lot of evidence then prove it to be very true, that they manipulate the news, they manipulate all forms of media spaces, televised and internet and all of the content that we consume to keep us.
In my mind now comes the book written by Michel Ron.
Mm-hmm.
The book is called We Also Need to Eat.
Wow.
So that one is based in Kenya, and it becomes an example of what is going on in South Africa.
My God.
So people should read that book. Yeah.
We all need to eat.
That's it. We also need to eat.
We also need to eat.
Yes.
Yeah.
By Michel Ron.
It also reminds me of another movie, but maybe some other time I'll actually speak about it. So you believe if people can actually get into that space of educating themselves and putting themselves into spaces where they consume content that actually enlightens them, that liberates them. So will we ever see a complete, total black consciousness for the people? And what's your feeling around that whole area?
I love what you've just said now. My belief was black consciousness was the right, or Pan-Africanism as the right policy for South Africa, if we call it that. It's the right ideology, let me put it that way, for South Africa. Unfortunately, the media, which doesn't serve us anyway,
yes,
is the one that made sure that they uplifted the ANC.
Yeah. So,
my brother, I'm not sure if I can end it here, but there's a call that comes through.
Oh, right. No, we will definitely end it here, and then sir, you need to promise the consumers of this content a part 2, because I know you've got a lot to share.
Yeah.
I was still wanting us to speak about Africa in its totality, removing the borders and all of that. What's your take and feelings?
No, I'm available. We can continue any other time.
Yes, sir.
And
no.
Then I wanted. There's a friend of mine who's a musician that I would like you to interview. I'm not sure if he's gonna agree to it.
Yes, sir.
He also has the problem of not being able to talk about himself, but this guy has played with a lot of artists.
Yes, sir.
This guy he started playing with Bayeta.
Wow.
In fact, he started before, and then he played with Sibongile Khumalo.
Wow. Big shout out to Sibongile.
With Hugh Masekela.
Whoa.
His name is Fanazulu.
Wow. His name is Fanazulu.
He's very much resourced.
Big shout out to Fanazulu. Can't wait to host that interview. All right, Fanazulu, we are officially making a invitation for you for this very podcast so we can speak to you. So thank you so very much for your time and all that you've been able to share. It's been incredible. We're definitely going to have a part 2 for this. I'm looking forward because I know there's more where that came from. Thank you so very much, sir.
Now, tell me, your listeners, are they going to be able to call me? Would they want to talk to me?
Yeah, absolutely. How can they reach you?
My number 083
427 the last 4 digits? The last 4 digits?
It's 8388.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so very much, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate your time. Thanks. Go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Open Up and Tell It All with Dollar Bill and a very interesting guest. Yes, Mr. Wellington Pike. Yes, majestic love, y'all. I'm out. Dollar Bill is out.
Ooh, Dollar Bill, I love what you're doing to me. Oh, goodness. Ooh.